Hello there, this is Miss Ellingson. In your junior advisories, you've already gone over the ACT when you're taking the ACT and the importance of doing well in the ACT. Now, in your science classes, we're going to spend 6 little mini lessons, totaling maybe 60 minutes on some overview, tips, and practice of the science ACT to help calm your nerves and know what to expect on the exam. So, 2 of these days, I'm going to do direct instruction, and 4 of those days, you're going to be practicing, and then I'll give you some feedback on why the answers are correct, because I think the most valuable part is practicing yourself. So, what I'm going to do today is tell you what to expect, to go over mindset of the exam, and give you the first and I think the most important tip for the science ACT. So, overview of the ACT is you have 40 multiple choice questions in 35 minutes. Doing the math, that means you have 53 seconds per question, and having a strategy is key. And that's why number one is reading the questions instead of the passage is going to save you lots of time. So you're going to be given 7 to 6 passages. You're taking this online. So you will see the same passage on the left for several of the questions. So you'll scroll back and forth between the questions. You will have the same passage, and then you'll move on to the next passage. Three or two of those will be research summaries. Three or two of those will be data representation, and one will be conflicting viewpoints. So each passage will be written. It will also be accompanied by data and graphs and charts. So each of those passages will have 4 to 7 multiple choice questions, and we will practice 3 of those. So I'll give you a passage and then 4 to 7 multiple choice, and hopefully these tips and tricks and practice will help you feel better prepared when it comes to taking the science portion of the ACT. So I think a real important part of the ACT for science is a positive mindset. So the good and bad news is that the science ACT does not test your scientific knowledge. It does help the more science classes you've taken, but also doesn't mean you can't do well on the exam. Instead, it assesses the skills needed to be a good scientist. So, can you look at a hypothesis? Can you look at an experiment? Can you look at data and graphs? And can you make predictions? Can you make interpretations? Can you do analysis? Can you find the information they're asking you about? So, you're going to get 6 to 7 authentic scientific scenarios, and you're going to be given some multiple choice questions about those scenarios. So they're based in science content, but they're evaluating your skills. So, can you answer science questions you know nothing about? So, maybe you've never taken astronomy or physics. Could you answer a question based in astronomy? Well, yes, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this to help you feel better prepared, to know what to expect, and some tips on taking the science portion of the ACT. So it's important to keep a positive mindset. You will see terms you don't know. And doing review myself, there are terms that, I know I've seen, but it's been a while, so I don't remember them. But I can still answer the questions by looking at the data, by looking at the graphs, and reading the questions carefully. So, some prompts will be based on science content and terms you've never seen or experienced before. That is okay. So, keep a positive mindset that you can do this. Just read what they're asking you for, and the answer is in the prompt. You can do this. So, quick examples on the right. So, we've got which group has the most Cogans? Well, doesn't matter if you know what a Kogan is or not. I just made it up. So, which has the most? You can look at the table and see that group D has the most with 38. So, the answers are in the prompt. Keep a positive mindset and don't let those terms or the content or the graphs, whatever it is, um, you know, have you have any setbacks. You've got this. You can do this. So, what it looks like. So, you're going to be doing this online. So, when you open it up, you're going to see a 1 through 40 at the top. So, those are all your questions. And then you'll start with number one, and you will see a passage on the left that you can scroll up and down. So, here again is just a snippet and cut and pasted for you of how big a passage may be. So, again, this is not for you to read, this is just for an overview of how big it is. So we've got passage one, it's about de-icers. We got study one, we got study two, and we've got three figures to go with it. So you will have the passage on the left, and you can scroll up and down. The question will be on the right. And again, as you scroll to the next 4 or 7 questions, they will have the same passage on the left. Then you will see your multiple choice answers, and your job is to pick the correct answer. You will also have a drop down tool that you can highlight and underline portions of the passage. So, my first tip is read the question first and then find the information in the passage. The passage is long. Um, and there's a lot to remember. So it's much quicker and easier to read the question and then find that portion in the passage. So again, I just did a little snippet for you. So you saw the entire passage before. So we're going to go through this real quickly, and I'm going to do 4 of these next time, and we're going to take a lot more time to do it. But here's just a brief um, little tip to just get you started. So read the question first. Again, the prompt's pretty long. The passage itself is long. So according to figure one, so the first thing you want to do is find figure one. Again, I pulled that for you. Um, so we can see this on the slide. So what are they asking? So any submersion time after 0 days, you will see submersion time on the x-axis, and the number of days from 0 to 600. So we're looking at these de-icers. Again, doesn't matter if you know what de-icers are, but from this climate, you could predict it's something that melts ice, and I think they're specifically looking at melting ice on concrete. So you have to read this carefully. Greatest average percent change um, that produce the least average. So greatest average to the least average. So on the left-hand side, we've got that average length change, our independent variable that we're measuring. So they want greatest to least. So what we need to do is to look at our graph and look at greatest to least and match it with our keys. So again, it doesn't matter if you know what de-icers are, if you know those chemical compounds or not. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce those because it's been 29 years, but I can read the chart to know that the solid dot is the highest, then the open square, then the solid square, then the open dot. So all I need to do now is to match that over on the answer key. So we're looking at the graph, we're ranking greatest to least. And notice I also had a distractor here, so it's important you read the prompt carefully. So the passage was long. So in the question, it will say like in figure one, in study two, in um, graph three, whatever it may be, and then just find that portion of the passage to answer the question. So, some takeaways. So, that was a lot in our brief little first session here. So, what's one thing you didn't need to know to answer the previous question? There were quite a few things you didn't need to know to answer that question. 2 things you did need to know to answer the question. One was reading the graph, reading the keys. So, what things do you need to know? And 3 things you'll remember to do during the exam. So, write those down on a half sheet of paper while it's still fresh in your mind. And then next time, we're going to go over 4 samples, going over the 4 tips again, getting you used to looking at the prompt, the question, the answers, etc. So until next time.